Welcome to the Good Old Blades podcast. I am your host, Aaron Levere, and join me as we talk to other knife makers and craftsmen about anything and everything knives.
As amazing knife makers go, Paul Lusk is as talented as they come. With a focus towards not only making works of art, but educating the industry on his technique, he is deeply invested in the community and shows that every day on his instructional videos. I first heard of Mr. Lusk through my dad, who has shown me his knives, and through some conversations on my interest on his work, set up this interview where I get to ask a few questions and learn about his craft.
Now, Sissy, who's running the show here?
I am.
Well, she's right about all of it, and we're delighted to do this interview together in Sissy's first ever podcast as a co-host.
That's right. So with that being said, Mr. Lusk, it's great to have you on the Good Old Blade podcast.
That's my line.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's taken a little while to coordinate this because we wanted to have my special co-host on, Sissy, and she really wanted to be able to ask you some questions, and she's sitting here giggle.
She's got the giggles. Just get it out.
Yeah.
Just get it out. Have you a good belly laugh and get it over with. It always helps.
Yeah. Well, there's not that much difference between recording and talking live. You know, she did fine with just talking.
Yeah, we're having a good conversation before we hit the record button. We're going to have one here coming up too. We just got to get used to the whole situation. But yeah, I'm tickled to be here. That's I'm called a long-time listener, first-time caller. So,
yeah. So, kind of in this. Well, I think probably the first time we had talked, we were talking about having Sissy on. She wanted to be able to do interviews and stuff, and so it's been like a little bit of time because she was sick a few times and got delayed, and then she wanted to come up with some really good questions. So she's kind of been like asking like periodically about, hey, is this a good question and that a good question? And so we finally got to the point where we have them. She has 5 questions that I'm
looking forward to them.
Pretty good. And she wrote them all down so that she has a little reader she can use.
Well, I've been excited, and I even thought before you even ask a question, I have a dad joke for you. Okay. So you're familiar with Noah and the Ark, right? Okay. Do you know what state, the United States, or what state is mentioned in the Bible? Do you know? No? It's Arkansas. Because Noah came out of the Arkansas that everything was dry. It's not bad, is it? It's not a bad one. My kids be like, my kids be like, it's stupid. Good. Finally have a good audience. Fantastic.
Yeah. So something that's important, Sissy, is like, when we're recording, we're doing those things that people can't see. They can't see you. So when you're speaking, when you want to interact, you speak your words out because the microphone is what picks that up. So everybody who doesn't see this, right, where we're on video chat, they'll be able to see, or they'll be able to hear you in the microphone. So make sure that you're using your words to express yourself. Okay. So I think it'd be good for Sissy and I to like get to learn a little bit about you and kind of your knife making journey, and then we can kind of get into some of the questions that she wrote out.
Okay.
So if you'd like to feel free. I'm interested to know kind of like what got you into knives. I've been following some of your car rebuild stuff and things that. And, just I mean you're eclectic. You're eclectic. So I mean it's cool to see a knife maker where it's like their life is something that they're expressing their artistry and not just knives.
Yeah, and people You say expressing your artistry. And a lot of times people say expressing themselves with their knives. And I've always kind of wondered if I'm expressing myself, or I think it's kind of a reflection of my personality. I've never felt like I needed to express anything per se, but I would always do that with painting and other forms of art. And with what I figured out, and you asked me how I got into this, I figured out a long time ago that I like making things that people enjoy. And if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it full force, and I'm going to be the best I possibly can at it. And uh, but something that I want is the satisfaction of providing something that someone benefits from. And so I used to own a coffee shop many years ago. When I was 24 years old, I started up a coffee shop and had a great time. Did that for 6 years. I worked at a coffee shop for 4 years during college, and uh, but I sold that, and I got out of the coffee business. But I really enjoyed making those drinks and making conversation and providing a home for people to go there. I had a lot of college students who would go off to college, and they would come back to town, and it was in Lubbock, Texas, and they would come by the coffee shop before they came and saw their parents, like during the holidays or something. It was provided a great second home for people. And whenever I got out of knife making, a friend of mine got me interested in it because I'd never known what a knife maker was. It just never crossed my radar. And so he told me he'd been making knives for several years, but he'd gotten out of it due to some personal issues. But he sent me some pictures of some things that he did, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. And he said, well, with your art background, I think you'd be really, really good at this. And so he got me interested in it, and I went to he sent me to a site, and it was of R.W. Wilson. And R.W. Wilson passed away a year and a half or so ago, but this was 17 years ago. He sent me to that site, and he was the tomahawk maker for the movie Jeremiah Johnson. And there was a section on his website about training. And so it said something along the lines of, if you have a God-given talent, pass it on. And he has students that he takes in. And so I contacted him. I went up to West Virginia and took a 5-day crash course in knife making and got kind of the basic idea of what it was. And I really felt at home. I just thought, man, I feel good in the shop. And I'd never set foot in a knife shop in my life. I didn't know what a belt sander was, or a grinder, or a disc sander, or a mill. That just wasn't a part of my life. But I thought, oh man, I like this. Because when I was in college, my first major was art. It was graphic design, and I got out of it, and I got into biology and a minor in chemistry, and got a degree in that. And but I always had that art background and that desire to create things. And so that friend of mine, he said, you ought to look into knife making. And so I went to RW's shop and just loved it. And I came back, and it took about a year to put a shop together. I'd sold my coffee shop, and I was just finding equipment here and there. I didn't want to spend the king's ransom on something that I hadn't proven myself at. And so I thought, well, I'm going to find some used things and some kind of low-end equipment to get into, and then upgrade later on. And I got into it, and I just loved it. And I was making kind of quick and dirty knives the best I could, but to make money and to lack of better terms, to hone my skills. And just over the years, I've come across different people who've influenced me in different ways. Those who have pushed me and stretched me, and it's just a constant learning. I think, as Mickey Mantle has said, that it's amazing, something along the lines of, it's amazing how you can play a game all of your life and know so little about it or something like that. And it's kind of like with knife making. It's a constant journey. It's a lifelong journey of things. And I've been doing it, like I said, for like 17 years. And every now and again, you come across something, you go, why didn't I think of this a long time ago? I need to start doing it this way. and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
change little things.
yeah. I mean, I agree. I think that's I get bored easy. Like
Yeah.
if I work for a company, maybe
Yep.
it takes me 3 months to figure out what it's all about, and
Yeah.
then after that I dislike it.
Right.
You find all the drama or pain points or things like that, all the reasons why
Right.
you should leave, but then
Mm-hmm.
and then the rest of the time is just trying to convince myself to stay somewhere.
Right.
So I was kind of flighty with work for a long time.
I understand. Well, Jerry Seinfeld had a great quote. He said, "You find the torture that you're comfortable with."
Yeah, right.
And it's all going to be torture, but find the thing that you can handle. And in knives is you have people say, I'm my only competition. I don't have any competition. Well, that's all fine and good if you don't have to make a living. And I do it full time, and so I do have competition. And I have to be the chief cook and chef and bottle washer, and come up with all different types of ways to market and to do all these different things. And it's a job, and it's work, but it's a torture that I enjoy.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I think it probably leads into Sissy's first question for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
What is your favorite knife design?
Oh man. I tell you what, that's going back on what your dad said about getting bored with things. I change it up, and I'll make folders for a while, liner lock folders, and I'll go, oh, I need a break from this. I need to do a fixed blade, and then I'll do a basic fixed blades, and I'll do like a hidden tang buoy or something like that. And it's hard to say. Man, I just don't know. It's kind of it kind of depends on the day or on the week with me. There are some that I make so much of, and I just think I need to get a break. I need to get but I think the easiest ones are just a basic fixed blade, no bolsters, just a couple of scales put on each side. And all knives are hard to make. There's to make a proper knife, there's a lot of work involved. But I think sometimes I'm in the mood for easy, and sometimes I'm in the mood for hard. And I think I need to challenge myself. I'm getting a little bit too bored, and so I don't know. I like working. Might not be a design question, but I like working with mammoth ivory a lot. That's one thing I like to do. I like to do some kitchen knives. Those are some of my favorite things to do. Are kitchen knives. Those are pretty fun to do.
You gonna
What
tell him
else do
what
you
your
think?
second question was and how he spoiled it already?
Is it the materials?
What is your favorite handle material to work with?
Yes, I think it's mammoth ivory. Least favorite would probably be ironwood. Ironwood makes a beautiful knife, and I don't shy away from working with it because it makes, like I said, a beautiful handle, but it stinks really bad. it smells awful. But ivory smells bad too. But I like ivory. I really like the look of maroon linen micarta.
That's one
That's
of
a
my favorites
really
too.
beautiful. If you put like white spacers on there, that looks really good.
Yeah. We saw that you were working with nilgai horn. How does that to work with?
Oh man, nilgai. For those of the listeners out there who aren't familiar with it, it's excuse me. It's a cousin to the antelope in a way, and it's a very large animal with a kind of a small head and small spikes on the top. So they're not an antler, but they're a horn, and they're they're hollow. They have a bone base, and then that horn sleeve on the outside, and they're hollow, and they're a pretty difficult knife to make. People who from the King Ranch in South Texas bring me those, and they I'll make several of them, groups for them, for clients and stuff. People who've shot them and wanted to have something different than a shoulder mount or something like that on the wall. And so it's a difficult knife to make. It really is. It's a slow process. There's a lot of glue involved because it's a guard with a hidden tang, and you're putting a hollow horn around that, and so it needs to be filled with with epoxy, and so it takes a lot of glue. And there's just a lot of mechanics involved in those nilgai knives. They're really
they look
are.
super rad.
Thanks. They're different. They approached me and they said, we want you to do something with these, and we don't know what to do. And I said, well, I've got an idea. And so on the front of the handle, behind the guard, I'll put like a little couple of spaces of copper and a piece of ironwood in there. And then on the butt cap, I'll put a little stainless butt cap on there, and the little copper between the handle and then the horn and the butt cap, and then you shape the butt cap to the profile of the horn, which would be the base, skull portion of the horn at the pommel area.
Yeah, it's super cool. One of my favorite eating animals too. Like nilgai is probably my favorite.
Oh, people love it.
Yeah,
they really do.
Well, what I've noticed about it is like, unlike beef, nilgai takes flavor so exceptionally well. Like it's like it was meant to be eaten. I don't know why. Like beef. Yeah, it is. Its final form is that. I mean, it's an Indian antelope, so maybe it's finding nirvana or something inside of a dish.
There's some things, and I'm not a chef by any means, but there's some things that just go well with others, and it just I've heard a lot of people say different recipes about how they like to prepare nilgai. What they call them, the gray ghost, or I can't remember what the blue ghost, or
blue devil. It's a double horse or something like that. I forget. I don't know. Like all these different names for them. Yeah. But it's kind of going back to like what we were talking about with getting bored easy. I've like that's something like with knives. I think that has always been the thing for me, is that it's a well that I can constantly drink from. And as much as I know, there are, like, I mean, think about it. Like, if you didn't want to grind another blade, you could pick up engraving and still work on knives. You could do all sorts of things, scrimshaw. You could go do knife photography. You could, all of these knife adjacent type of things, and never really lose sight of knives if you wanted to stay in it because you like it, but you didn't want to grind. So let's just say you lost.
Right. Yeah. And there's some people who make one type of knife, and there's some people who make several different types. And, you have people who just make slip joints. It's kind of like a restaurant, where they just serve one thing. They just serve chicken strips, and then different variances of that, or just wings or whatever. And then there are other, restaurants have a full menu, and it's kind of the same thing with knives. I like to offer a fuller menu of things, but I don't make them for me. I'm making them to please other people, to have them be able to get something that's a great gift for someone, or some commemorative something or other. People. I'm making 8 liner locks right now for a wedding, and so that people are going to look back on that, and I find it very flattering that they'll look at me and say, "We want to spend this money on what you provide for us to commemorate this date." And so, to me, it's a very serious thing that I approach with respect.
Yeah. When you were getting into liner locks, are you like self-taught on that, or like how did you kind of expose yourself to the liner lock method of things?
a man named Dwayne Duchesne. He lives in Andrews, Texas, and he had a DVD back in the day. There was about file work, and I bought it, and a company had produced it, and come to his house and distributed that, and I bought it, and I thought, man, this guy seems really nice, and he's an excellent craftsman. I mean, just ridiculous. And so I was at a show one time, and it was the gun show in West Texas, and he came walking up, and I asked him if he was him, and he said, yeah. And I said, I've got your DVD, and we just sat down and hit it off really, really well, like long lost buddies. And so I lived at the time 2 hours from him, and so I would go to his house a lot. I was single, and they had like my own bedroom at his place, and so they would take me in, and I'd stay there for a few days and help them out around the house. And he taught me liner locks, and I thought, I've really hit a gold mine here, because he's just a wealth of information. The guy's just incredible. And so he taught me liner locks, and as best as he could. And I just took it from there. And it's one of those deals where you one fellow told me many years ago, he said, you'll hate the first 75 that you make. He said that's so hard to do. And there's a lot to it. There is a lot, but if you break it down and learn it well, and just repeat the process over and over, it gets to where it's easier.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's important to understand that too, Sissy, right? Like the more you do things, the easier it becomes.
Right. It's kind of like your drawings. You'll look back on drawings that you did a few years ago, and you think, I've gotten so much better at that. And then I look at knives that I did a year ago, and I always like to look year by year and think, okay, what did I do on this knife a year ago that I could improve on? And am I doing that now? And it's just a constant pushing yourself, trying to get better. My son is a pitcher in baseball, pitcher and shortstop. And I told him, I said, you don't be hard on yourself, but you encourage yourself, but be a fair critic of yourself, and look at yourself and say, this is what I need to improve on. And sometimes just because you do something and you complete something doesn't mean it's great, and so you think, I need to look back on things and say, honestly, can I do better than that? And encourage myself to say, this is what I did really well here, but I could do better if I did it this other way.
That makes sense to you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just always think, I can just do better than this. I did a great job, but you know what? I'm going to try even harder next time. People say, what's the best knife you've ever made? And I'll say, well, I think it's yet to be made. I think I haven't even made my best knife yet.
Yep. Yeah, we understand that. I mean, what's interesting, I think, is that as much as I think I've had life figured out, having a young child reminds me that I still have lots of things to learn. It's like we're even though there's a fairly large age gap between us. I mean, I was almost 30 before we had her. Me and her like mm-hmm. Her mama were divorced, and I'm remarried. But mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, it's like we're growing up together in some ways. Do you agree, Sissy? So you think we're growing up together? You might want to shake, like instead of shaking your head, you might want to say yes or I agree.
Yes, I agree.
That's true.
Yeah, she's had another question she wanted to ask you. She's trying to move on so that way her obligation is over with.
Oh, yeah. Go outside and play.
Do you have any children?
I have 2 stepdaughters, and one of them is 16. Her name is Allison. And I have Madeline, who is 14. And I have a son that is mine and my wife's, and his name is Corbin, and he is 9. And they keep me busy. I'll tell you that much. The oldest has her own car, and so she's out doing her thing. And then the middle one isn't old enough to drive yet, but she keeps us busy. And my son is right in the middle of a baseball tournament right now. And so we're doing that. And whew, I'm getting too old. I'm getting wearing me down. But it's good. I love being a dad. It is the best thing ever.
Do you have any
You have any other question?
Any follow-up questions to that?
No.
No. She's like, that's good.
Yeah, she was like,
Yeah.
when we were coming up with her questions, she looked at me. She was like, "Well, where's your list?" And I was like, "Dude, that is all in my mind."
Yeah, it just kind of flows.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say like my thing is I just my flow state is when I get pushed into a corner, right? And then I can really just like, I don't know, be tangential sometimes, and,
right.
and then,
Oh, yeah.
think on the fly is
Right.
is probably like the most exciting to me, even though
Organic. Yeah, organic's better than scripted.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about it too. We don't have normal human conversations that are scripted unless you're
Right.
trying to socially engineer somebody. I mean, it's all adaptive, So
Right.
And so I decided when I was getting into like video stuff and podcasting and everything that I was just going to force myself to be good at conversations like I am when the record button's not on,
Right.
in this medium. And so, I mean, slowly getting there. I can ask some good questions once in a while.
Oh, yeah. You have a great podcast. It's really good.
Yeah, well, thank you. So I'm interested to learn a little bit more about like this the education process that you have right now, because my understanding is that you have a knife school that you do online stuff for, right? That's still active, and you're actively managing that curriculum.
Yes. What I did is several years ago, I decided to create a website called knifemakingvideos.com. And it is a list of courses that people can take. It's a monthly subscription that is $19.95 right now. And it's just a monthly, like I said, just you're billed automatically monthly. And it's a place where you can take these courses, and it keeps track of everything that you've done. And so you can take the liner lock folder course, and then whenever you log back in, it says you've completed 38% of the course. Would you like to continue on, or would you like to change up and do something else? And so I've got, I can't remember, 15, 17 different courses on there, and each one is broken into several different videos. And it might have 5 videos that are roughly 5 minutes long, 3 to 8 minutes long. Might have 5 videos. It might have 55 videos on it, just depending on what it is. And so I've got how to design knives, how to make liner locks or full tangs or hidden tang buoys, and how to work with mammoth ivory, and how to do bolsters, and how to do file work. And it's just on and on. And there's just it's a YouTube channel on steroids is what it is. And what I did is I went to the most popular YouTube channels, and I watched them, and I thought, what are they doing? What are they skipping out on? What are they, major processes are they not showing to people, whether intentionally or inadvertently? And some of these things that they're doing, honestly, I think in the hardest way possible, some of the steps were. And so, people say, well, there's no right or wrong way, but there are some ways that are easier than others. And so I kind of reversed engineered a lot of those YouTube channels. And I thought, I'm going to do this my way, and I'm going to fill in all those gaps where they left people hanging, and they didn't achieve what they should have achieved, I think, in teaching people. And because if I want to teach people, I want to teach people. I'm not here to get digitally confirmed by a bunch of likes, get these vanity metrics of look how many subscribers I have, or look how many likes I have, or whatever. And so I thought, these camera angles are terrible. from across the room. The sound is awful. They're saying that they're doing this, but we can't tell what they're doing. And so I got a camera, I got a lapel mic, and I got it. The camera angle's right down on my hands, so you can see exactly what I'm doing, and it's broken down into 5-minute digestible little tidbits where you say, okay, this is hollow grinding part 1 of 4, or this is, drilling part 1 of 3, or whatever. And so I take it through step by step by step. So there's no question about what drill you're using, what speed you're using, what belt you're using, what compound you're using, anything like that. And it took me a long time to make the site. It took me like a year and a half or so to make it, but it's a very effective means of education. And a lot of people will take the courses and love them. And some people are like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to spend any money at all. And that's fine. And then 6 months later, they decide to take the courses and they go, I should have done this 6 months ago. What was I thinking? And I think, just for basically the cost of lunch these days, you can have so much information that is not covered on any YouTube channels that I've seen. And there's some great YouTube channels out there. I'm not knocking any of them, but these are so unbelievably comprehensive that people go, I can't go through a single video without learning something. And I tell them, I said, if you can take a course and learn something, it's worth it. And I'm like, I learned something on, 10 times that, 10 great nuggets of information in every course that I've watched. And a lot of people who've been on Forged in Fire have been students on that website. And I don't teach forging. It's a stock removal method, but whenever it comes to fit and finish and just learning how to go through the process of knife making, it's there. And then I take you through a whole bunch of different types of knives, and it's geared for beginners and for people who are seasoned veterans. It just gets kind of progressively harder as you go through the list.
That's pretty rad. I'll have to on like the long list of things that I have to do. I haven't signed up yet because I knew that I wanted to talk to you, but then I wanted to sign up and kind of see,
Right.
the materials and things like that. Because there's lots of stuff that because I'm self-taught too. There's like gaps in knowledge, and what I find is interesting is like the tips and tricks. The ways to make things like a short circuited or faster in some ways, but still maintain the accuracy that you need, because we can all blow and go, but it makes sense to me to like slow it down, and a process can only go as fast as like the outcome you want to achieve for it, right? So what I try to do is find ways that I can hack that and do things quicker in areas and still maintain that aesthetic or that I guess the goal of precision that I'm looking for.
Right. And there are certain ways of doing of streamlining the process, because I was watching a video the other day. It was a little YouTube short, and it showed a pit crew from like 1970s or something like that during a race, and it was 54 seconds for them to do everything they had to do, and then it went decade by decade, and it got down to where it was like 2023, it was 1.7 seconds for them to change the tires and fill the tank. And it's like they achieved the same thing in a 50th of the time or whatever it was. It was something just ridiculous. And I try to streamline my process and try to teach people how to do that, and say, okay, you can do it this way, but it's going to take you a whole lot more time, and you can do things more quickly without compromising the quality on that. There's some things that kind of like your rate determining step is the step that is the slowest in the process. So if we're making a car in through an automated process, and the slowest, the thing that takes it the longest is putting on the doors, then that's the fastest they can ever be made as the rate determining step. And so I try to combine some things to where you're decreasing that rate determining step.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think that as knife makers that want to operate as a full-time business, right? Or even a part-time successful business, it really does come down to the total time that it takes to make
Right,
something, right? Because I mean, you sell a knife for $300, you better hope that you have not that much in the materials, and it doesn't take a
right,
very long time.
right. Yeah, and I found out that for me over the years, I've gotten faster at making knives, and then I think, okay, now how can I make this better? And then you find out what you need to change, and that slows you down. And then you can get to where you can do that process a little bit faster, so it ebbs and flows up and down, and on that time that you can finish a knife. And now that I'm getting a little bit older, um, I'm making fewer. And I'm just, you get kind of give out, my back hurts, my feet hurt, and there are all kinds of issues that you have, because it's not a passive job. It'll wear you down. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'll make fewer knives, a little bit more expensive on those, and I still make some that aren't as expensive that I call my gateway knives that people can get in on, and they can afford, and they go, oh, I like this. I'm gonna move up into something a little bit more higher end, but something that won't take me very long that I can bust out for a few $100s, and it'll be a great knife for someone, or something that's going to take me the better part of a week. So I kind of change it up. Whenever some people, whenever they first start making knives, are on an identity hunt. They're trying to figure out what they want to make. Do I want to make tactical, or I don't want to make some classical, or this and that. And for me, it was that identity hunt. Took a little while, to kind of formulate and to figure out who I am as a knife maker and what I want to offer.
Yeah, no, I even today I still am on an identity hunt to some extent. Like when I got into knives, it was making hunting knives because I was doing a lot of it, and I've just found that every knife that I was using was deficient. Maybe I've said it before, but maybe I should have just decided to find a really great custom knife maker and buy knives from them instead of actually getting into knife making. But my thing is that I think that was the catalyst for me. I had worked in jewelry as an apprentice and done quite a bit of work, and I'd always been working with some type of removal and you know whether I like repairing equipment and things like that, or doing automotive work, or
Mm-hmm.
anything that you would do on a farm, such like a farm, or homestead type of situation. Like that's kind of what I was about. I always felt
Right.
very very at home doing physical labor. Worked for a pool construction company when I was a
Oh
teenager.
yeah.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff, like grading concrete, for some reason to me
Oh
was
yeah.
just super cool, and from a very
Yeah.
early age. I just liked it. I mean, I thought for a long time I was just a big dummy that couldn't do anything else, but then I actually think that I just innately liked it. Um,
Oh
and
yeah.
and so, like, working with my hands and being physical and manipulating the world around me to create something was the thing.
Right. I've
And
laid many flagstone patios myself.
yeah,
I mean, just stuff like that. Just good old fashioned sweat.
yeah,
And you finish it and you go, man, it looks good.
yeah. I have an Argentine red tegu, which is a big big lizard, and
Okay.
and he is about 2 now, if I remember correctly. And Sissy and I have been building a chicken coop
Oh.
outdoor enclosure thing and
Mm-hmm.
retrofitting it for him because he's a big lizard. And so she's been helping me with that. So we kind of
Mm.
just like sometimes she can be a little naughty and get in trouble.
Man, that happens. That happens.
She's side eyeing me.
Yeah,
Um,
I get in trouble too. Don't worry about it, kid. I
but
get in trouble almost every day.
yeah, but the thing is that when we're out doing stuff like that, I mean, we just clicked into like a flow, and we were helping each other out, and she was doing lots of stuff that she could at her height level and everything, and
Right. Mm-hmm.
didn't get in any trouble, did we?
No, that's good.
You shake
Yeah.
your head, or you gotta say yes or no.
No, we didn't.
No, he didn't. That's good. That's good. Do you have any other questions? I've liked the ones you've had so far. Anything else?
What do you like to do outside of knives?
Well, I have found a love of baseball. I was a soccer player growing up, and I played soccer for 15 years, and my son has gotten into baseball. And I thought, well, I don't know a lot about it, but I enjoy it. And so he is a very gifted athlete. He can pick up a skill very, very quickly. And so he is a good baseball player. He's a good shortstop. He's a good pitcher. And so we've gotten to where we spend a lot of time um, playing outside. And now you said you were 30 whenever you had her. I was just an hour or so shy of being 40 whenever I had Corbin. And so I'm 49 now, going on 80, it feels like. But whenever I was 46 and he was 6, he said, "Dad, you're 46, right?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I wish you were 36. I said, "Me too, kid." I said, this age, man, it catches up with you. But I spend my average day breakdown is this. I get up early. I go to bed real early, but I get up real early and I cook breakfast and make coffee and you get everybody, we have different kids getting on different buses and stuff at different times. And his bus comes about 7:15 and I will get out and we will have batting practice in the front yard with his baseball bat and little wiffle balls, little plastic balls. And so I'll pitch to him and he bats before the bus gets there. And as soon as he gets off the bus after school, we will have batting practice again. And then I'll go back to work for a little bit and he'll come knock on my door and he says, "Dad, can we come outside and play again?" And so I'll come outside and we'll play catch or do more batting practice. And then we'll have a baseball game maybe that we have to go to that night. And so there is a lot of stuff that we do together. We like to do anything and everything that we can together. But today consisted of batting practice this morning, and then I went and picked up a bunch of sod to lay in the front yard, which is pre-cut squares of grass that you just lay and plant in your yard. And I was doing that this morning before we started this. So I do as much as I can around the house. And if I can squeeze in a TV show, I'll do that. But it's a lot of baseball and lately a lot of yard work. But I make knives. I enjoy it, and I do that in my free time too. So whenever I get a minute at night or something, I'll go out on the weekends and I'll work on stuff and try not to get too far behind.
Yeah, you're also rebuilding a car of
Yes,
yours, right?
yes, I forgot to throw that in there too. I have a 1992 Toyota pickup, and it was back before they were called a Tacoma. And so I got it, and it was my favorite vehicle of all time. And I had it during college and several years after. It was a four-wheel drive, standard shift, the type you get out and you lock the hubs on the front wheels to engage the four-wheel aspect on it. And it got hit out in front of my house many years ago. A guy plowed into it as he was driving by. And so it totaled it. It still ran, but I ended up selling it to a friend's dad up in the panhandle of Texas who was a farmer. And he ran it for several years, and then it broke down, and they just parked it into a field. And it wasn't a major breakdown, but it was just something they didn't want to deal with. And so they put it in the field and left the windows cracked a little bit on it. And so, yeah, so the panhandle is known for dust. And so it got very, very dirty and sat out there for about a decade. And so it got very dirty. A lot of mice lived in it, and it's just nasty. They chewed it up and did all kinds of vile and disgusting things to it. And so it was a house for rats for a decade, or for mice, for field mice. And so he contacted me. He said, "You know what, Paul, if you want this truck, you can have it back." I said, "Oh, man, yes." And so I made him a knife in exchange for my truck. And so I got my truck back, and we have started this major project of rebuilding it. and it is nasty, gross, sick. But my son and I are doing it. I'm doing the grossest stuff so he doesn't get hantavirus or something like that, something. But it's amazing where mice can get into and what they will do to certain things in those places. And so I've gutted the inside of it, except the dash. I've taken out some of it, but I've taken the carpet out. I've taken the headliner out. I've taken the seats out, and it just still reeks. And so there are more things I have to take out of it. And so I'm just piecing this truck back together. Hopefully, Lord willing, if I live long enough, and he's 16, and I'll have that done for him. And that's going to be his pickup because it was Dad's pickup. And so he said, I want it as close to original as you can possibly get it because it was the way you had it, and I want it that way. And so he's going to have a 1992 Toyota 4x4. My daughter has a 2002 Tacoma. I have a 2010 Tundra, and my wife or I or both of us, whoever who's driving it, have a 2021 Sequoia. So we're all Toyotas.
Oh yeah.
And so if you don't drive a Toyota, you can come over, but you can't park in the driveway. Okay, so
yeah, we're a Chevy house.
Are you Chevy?
Yeah, because we shape.
I've had good luck with them, and we enjoy them.
Yeah, yeah, we take Chevys down to the levee because we're country folk.
That's right.
I don't know. Sis is like, so she's quiet because she's like it's just like two dads talking now. It's like
she's like, oh, these jokes are terrible. But the Noah's Ark was a good one.
Yeah,
I have to give you that.
I thought it was too.
Yeah. What other questions you have, Sissy? I'm enjoying this. Getting to know you is great.
I have one more question, and it's, what do you think is the hardest part about making knives?
The physical part of it is the steel part. It's shaping the steel, and after you heat treat it and you hologrind it and getting the finish on there, getting the satin finish or the mirror polish or anything, that's the hardest part. For me, the easiest part is doing handles. But steel work is the hardest part. And I make knives in groups of 10 or 12 or whatever. And once I get past the steel work, I think, okay, I can see a light at the end of the tunnel now. I can start breathing a little bit easier and go, okay, now it's going to get a little bit easier. But that's the physical part of it is the steel part. The mental part, the hardest part is not getting too discouraged whenever things go wrong. Sometimes you can make a mistake and you go, oh gosh, what do I do? And you think, well, I guess I'll make the same mistake on the other side of the knife then. Cover it up. There was a famous architect named Frank Lloyd Wright, and he said, architects cover their mistakes with ivy. They let ivy grow on that part of the building. But you have to learn how to cover up mistakes or just start over on something. There's a lot of patience that's involved in that, and it's kind of like whenever you're doing one of your drawings, sometimes you want to get close to the end and kind of want to rush it and finish it, and so you can have a finished drawing, but you think, no, I need to do it right the whole way. I need to keep going strong and not get in too much of a hurry. And if I mess it up at the very end, then that's really bad. I would, whenever I first started making knives, I was scared to sharpen them because I'd spent all this time and money on all these materials and all this work. And I thought, I could go to sharpen this because it's the very last thing you do. Now, what if I mess it up? And the first few I did, I thought, oh gosh, I'm going to mess up. And I've spent all this time on it. And then you take it real slow and easy, and then you do okay. But if you do mess up, you just don't get too hard on yourself, but that's physical part is steel, and the mental part is just staying patient and not rushing the job. Good? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
So do you have any questions for her? Interested to know anything about her? We're going to put her in the hot seat.
Okay, let me think. So You're going to put the spotlight on her. So we talked about earlier about what you like to draw. Well, you do like to draw. Is there anything else that you like to do? You like to read?
Yes. And I also I already said I like spending time with my dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like spending time with my family.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you and your dad do together? Is there anything specific that you do?
Watch movies, snuggle.
Oh, man.
And
yeah.
he usually takes naps, so I take naps with him.
Oh, that's a good time right there. What movie do you like? You have a certain movie that you like?
My favorite is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And Indiana Jones.
Ooh, yeah. I haven't seen the latest one of those yet, but those are some pretty good ones. Yeah. My son and I, we just watched How to Train Your Dragon the other day. That's a pretty good one. I like the first one, but he likes the second one best. But I'm kind of torn. But yeah, there's some good movies. Guardians of the Galaxy, that's a good one. Yeah, there's nothing like a good nap though. Let's see what else What are the questions we have? Any type of favorite foods you have? Pizza, maybe.
Yeah.
Ice cream, yeah.
Definitely pizza and ice cream.
Oh yeah, you can't go wrong with those.
Chocolate is my most favorite ice cream.
Oh man, you and I need to have a chocolate eating contest sometime. I'll tell you what, I love that stuff. That's some good stuff.
Like anything that has chocolate, I'll just eat it up.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah,
only if it doesn't have pomegranate or grapefruit.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I wouldn't like a chocolate grapefruit myself either. But yeah, I think we agree on those: ice cream, pizza, and chocolate. Those are some fine foods to be fans of. Anything else? Maybe some spaghetti. That's good stuff. But well, so are you into making knives yourself? Do you like to do that, or do you like to watch it?
I mostly go out in the garage with my dad and pretend with little sticks that I'm making something.
Yeah. Yeah, my son likes to do that. I'd like to put my disc grinder with a really fine sandpaper on there and like 400 grit and give him a piece of something and just turn it on really slow and let him kind of shape something. And that's fun to do though. It's fun to see that that grind and that to take place and to take shape into something. It's fun.
Yeah, she kind of is practicing with files and sandpaper and things like that. I like these.
Mm-hmm.
They're technically wax applicators. So, they're kind of like tongue depressors. And
Okay.
And what I do is I'll set those up in like the knife vise for her, and she can like practice removing material and getting used to the tools and things. So, and she really likes to hammer and cut things. Is that right?
Yeah.
What else?
What do you mean?
Well, is there anything else? Tell me about your handle collection.
I have a handle material collection.
Oh, really?
Sometimes I go the garage and I ask my dad, "Hey, can I have this handle material?" Sometimes I'll say yes, and he'll say, "No, I would not like you to take that. I was going to make it for another knife."
Yeah, I'm going to use that. You can't have that. Oh, that's funny.
What kind of handle?
Well, what's your favorite handle material that you have?
My favorite handle material is draft bone.
Oh yeah, giraffe bone. That's some good stuff. That is. I haven't worked with that in a long time. I've forgotten about that. I need to do that.
Yeah, so much variety to giraffe bone. It polishes up so nice. We kind of like the striations in it. It makes it look
right.
Sometimes older than it is, and sometimes The colors pop in different ways.
Right. Right.
To me, it's very unique.
Also,
Yeah.
at knife shows, we
Mm-hmm.
spend some time together walking around and collecting stickers because I love stickers.
Mm-hmm.
They're my favorite thing to do, and walking around gives me exercise. Also,
Oh yeah.
I have fun and I get to spend time with my dad.
Oh yeah, and you meet people and see a bunch of neat stuff and get stickers. That's a good time right there. I have a cabinet in my shop that's a bunch of stickers on it. Yeah.
I have a bunch of stickers on my door.
My 14-year-old daughter did that. I came upstairs one time and there were a bunch of stickers just out of nowhere all over that door. I was like, what in the world? And then just recently they were gone, except the adhesive that's still stuck on the door. So anyway, that'll give me something to do. Clean that off.
Yeah, we'll see. She's been keeping up with her sticker collection a lot. So her door is pretty well covered at this point, and she has reserve stickers too. And she just kind of sticks on things that she likes to find.
Yes.
Water bottles. So she has a little canteen type of thing that she puts them on.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything that'll take a sticker has a sticker on it.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Whenever you're ready, I'll hook you up with a membership on knifemakingvideos.com. And y'all can watch those videos together and hopefully learn some stuff and enjoy that. And that'll keep you busy for a little bit if you ever have a minute. So
yeah, that'd be super rad. We've been kind of, because we've been a little naughty at times, gotten our iPad taken away.
yeah,
we talked about when she gets it back, that we're gonna, instead of like her watching a bunch of garbage on YouTube and playing, silly games, because it's weird, like the culture of like a lot of kids videos and games and stuff are really built to make them very addictive.
Absolutely.
And so we've kind of noticed that too. And she's like a kind of a little bit of a different person. It's like Gollum whenever she's like, hey, you got to put your technology down. And so we're like,
my precious. Yeah.
My precious.
That's her for sure. So we were talked about like when we kind of get back into it, if she's allowed to, it's like just education stuff. So it'd be cool to be able to pop some of your videos on there and just kind of go through all of that, and that way she can understand more techniques and things, because she like asks a lot of questions about different different facets of knives, like what are bolsters, what's this kind of handle material, things like that. So hopefully when she gets to a place, if she wants to, she can learn how to make one.
Right. Yeah. I knew a guy, unfortunately, he was in the hospital after an accident, but he signed up for the courses to give him something to watch while he was, in hospital, instead of just mindless entertainment. And he wanted to learn something. That I thought that was really neat that he thought of that to keep his mind busy while he was recovering.
Yeah, that's super rad. We are a house full of learners, aren't we, Sissy?
Well, that's good. I tell my kids, I said, especially my son, I tell him, I said, who you become is much more important than what you get in life. Becoming a good person is so much more important than getting things. And a lot of those games and shows and everything are, like you said, geared to be addictive, and they're not teaching. They're not teaching the right things a lot of times, and that can be pretty dangerous. Like you said, to get addicted to it, and we're pretty moldable as people, and so we can go down the wrong path pretty easily.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they say like who you're at 10 is pretty much who you're going to be. Like you kind of eked out like the core tenets of like your personality. And I would prefer her impression of life and the way that she thinks about things setting her up for that.
Right.
You know,
Right.
setting her up for the rest of her life is not full of just like the toxicity of multimedia and
Yeah.
the monetization of the human soul. Apparently,
We have a very suffocating culture, and it's the monetization of the human soul. There you go.
yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure to get and sit and talk to you.
Oh yeah,
Finally, and to be able to do this with Sissy.
absolutely.
She's this, she would ask me every once in a while, even though she's like coughing a lung up and everything. She's like,
Yeah,
when are we going to do this this episode? And so I was like, okay, well let's figure it out. There's no time like
yeah.
the present, right?
It's been about 5 or 6 months in the making.
Yeah,
It really has.
yeah.
It really has. Yeah, I'm glad. I've been looking forward to it, and I'm glad we got to visit some and to get to know each other a little bit. And I've been looking forward to meeting Sissy.
Yeah. Yes. Do you have anything that you want to say to him?
No.
No?
No. Do you have any other questions?
Mm-mm.
What do we do when we end our interviews? Do we say anything?
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm really, really glad I got to do this. I'm flattered that you wanted to interview me. It's just been such a great experience for me. I really, really appreciate it. I hope to get to meet you someday. I don't do a lot of knife shows, to be honest. I will go to some every now and then and attend them, but I don't go as a vendor very often at all. So, but hopefully someday I can be at a show or something and run into you and meet you, and that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff to do down in the Spring area. We can go to camp in Fairfield and drive down and do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Come by and you can see my dog. You saw him on the video a little while ago. He's an English lab. He's an English black lab. They're American labs and they're English labs. The English labs are a little bit shorter and stockier, a little bit thicker, and they have a thicker coat. And I tell people, I said, you can always tell an English lab because it barks with a British accent.
You're going to ask them what that sounds like?
What does that sound like?
It's more of an off, off, off. It's not an arf. It's not an arf, but it's off, off. So, yeah. You'll just have to hear it for yourself.
Well, we're going to have to see a man about a dog, aren't we, Sissy?
I hear you. That my grandfather used to always say that. He actually say, I got to go see a dog about a man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you for spending the time with us and talking a little bit about your life. I definitely I want everybody to be able to use your learning material as a resource, and so I definitely want to make sure that that's put up in the show notes and everything. And
I'm always open. People will call me or they'll write, and if anybody out there wants any information, I'm an open book. People say they want to be brutally honest, and I don't want to be brutally honest. I want to be nicely honest, and because people can hurt people's feelings. They really can to make them feel better about themselves. That hurt someone else's feelings, and it's important to be nice to people, and to encourage them, because at one point I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I should get into knife making and if I was, good enough or anything like that. And you get discouraged. And if people need anything, I wake up not every morning, but a lot of the mornings I wake up and there are messages on Facebook and stuff from people. Where do I get this and how to do that and stuff like that? And so, I help people out. So any way I can help, people, feel free to contact me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, thanks again. And
sure.
And we'll be in touch for sure. Cause we do like some Mr. Lusk.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, y'all. And she's waving to me. I'll wave back. Even though they can't see it, but I can see you. Thanks for the call, Sissy. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye. We'll see you later.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Good Old Blades podcast. Remember that you are loved, and God bless.